Hello, and welcome back to the Empowered Podcast. My name is Deanna Deacon. I am your gracious host. And again, I am so grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining me for yet another week of discussion around what it means to be an empowered woman. Today is all about the process of writing and publishing Feminine Warrior, my debut book, because it is launch week. You can't see me if you're listening, but I'm dancing. It is the official week that my book comes into the world, that you can purchase my book on Amazon, which, honestly, does that not make something more real? You could buy a copy on Amazon and have it shipped to you with Prime in 3 days. It's incredible. So today is Monday. My book releases into the world on Friday, November 6th. Originally, this was supposed to be the first day of the Empowered Woman Conference Round 2. I hosted and founded this conference last year in 2019, and in 2020, I was going to host my second conference as well as, launch Feminine Warrior. And because of COVID, because of everything that's been going on with the global pandemic this year, that, of course, is just not an option. And to be honest, I considered it. I considered about shifting and pivoting and trying to do it so it was a smaller group of people, and we had all those stimulation and the things in place, masks and hand sanitizer, make sure that everybody is safe in that way. But I'm grateful that I didn't. It feels right to be doing this virtually because it also gives access to so many more individuals to receive the experience of Feminine Warrior. So with that being said, what we're going to dive into today is questions and answers. So yesterday in my Facebook group, the Empowered Woman Collective, I asked the 700 or so women that are in there, if I were to do a Q&A podcast episode, what would you want to know? I have some incredible Q's here that I'm going to create some A's to, and I'm really excited to share it with you. If you have more questions following this episode, if there's more aspects of the writing process, the publication process, what the book is about, all those pieces, if you have more questions, feel free to send them my way. And if enough come in, I will definitely record another Q&A for you. Now, also, just before I dive into the first question, if you are not already registered for the Feminine Warrior book launch party, you need to go get yourself registered. It is happening Friday, November 6th, 7 till 9 p.m. on a private Zoom line. So you have to register so you get access to the Zoom link. That's just how it goes, Everything that I'm doing on Friday, November 6th is completely complimentary. It is all in pure celebration of each of us stepping into our own feminine warrior archetype. So from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. Pacific, all day long, there are activities happening in the Empowered Woman Collective on Facebook. There's numerology, there's meditation, there's raising money for a few families that live in Costa Rica. I'll be sharing more about that later. I'm going to be teaching a live belly fit class. You're going to be guided through a yoga nidra experience. You're going to be able to purchase your book on Amazon as well as leave a review on Amazon to help Feminine Warrior rise in the ranks to get to a bestseller status. And then that evening is when we come together for the grand finale, where there's going to be drumming and prayer and singing and chanting, live readings. And I'm going to be debuting a very, very special creative project. I'm not really saying much about it because no matter what I say, it will give it away. If you know me, if you have seen me live anywhere, you probably have a good indication of what it might be. Let's just say I was in full beautiful makeup at sunrise out on the golf course with a film crew. Let's just leave it at that. This creative project is only going to be shared at the Feminine Warrior book launch party, which is the evening 7 till 9 p.m. event on Zoom. It's not going to be shared anywhere else. So I want you to be there. I have one of my dear girlfriends who I've been friends with since university. She just moved all the way back east to Eastern Canada. And she messaged me saying, Dee, I'm going to drink so many cups of coffee so I can stay up late just so I can attend your launch party. And it just, oh my goodness. Oh, you know who you are. I love you. Thank you. So whatever you got to do, grab yourself a babysitter, get together with your girlfriends, dress up in a fancy dress. I know we can't really go anywhere right now or have actual parties, so make this into a party for yourself. Or get super cozy in your PJs, get yourself a delicious cup of herbal tea, cuddle up and tell your whole family, hey, these 2 hours are all for me. Whatever you got to do, whatever you want to do, get it in place so that you can be there at the Feminine Warrior book launch party. I promise you want to be there. So links for that are in all of the show notes and all those sorts of things. Everything's accessible there. Or of course, send me a message if you can't seem to find it. Now, are you ready for the first question? I have not. Okay, so I looked at these questions before, but I did not think about what my answers would be. So this is kind of like a blind response in a sense, or a blind react for my TikTok friends. Okay, first question from Miss Taylor. What was your favorite section to write? Favorite section to write? So there's a section in the book that's called Unapologetic Conversations. And it was probably the, I was going to say the hardest section to write. That's not true. It wasn't hard. Um, it's the deepest. And not in terms of spiritual deep, but in terms of like the crap that we go through as women when it comes to our bodies, when it comes to us feeling safe in our bodies, when it comes to sexual repression. It's literally all the conversations that I believe we should be having on a daily basis that we're not. And we're keeping them locked up for those moments when we've had maybe a bit too much wine and we're chatting with a girlfriend and we share these experiences that happened with us or how we truly feel about our bodies. I think these conversations should be at the forefront because that's how we bring healing. That's how we bring light into the darkness of our inner egoic thoughts. So my favorite section, Taylor, to be honest, was writing Unapologetic Conversations, because every time that I reread it, it brought me to tears again. It brought me to tears because some of it is my own personal story, and some of it is like the channeled story from what I can tap into of the collective woman and what we have gone through. Of course, coming from a westernized perspective, as that's the life that I live and that's the lens that I know my life through. But it's powerful. Yeah, that's my favorite section. Taylor also asks, where did the title idea come from? Feminine Warrior. I don't actually know if I know exactly where it came from, but I know that the essence behind it is a lot of the work that I do is empowerment, woman empowerment. This is the Empowered podcast. I have the Empowered Woman Conference. It's all about empowerment. And when I came into starting to write this book, it wasn't just about being empowered. It was really about like the journey to become empowered and what that looks like, what that tastes like, what that feels like, the whole journey and experience of getting there and then also being there. So it's like fully all encompassing. And the concept of empowered didn't feel holistic enough in terms of it didn't feel like it really brought in every aspect of what I was really pouring into this book. And I've also noticed that over the years with all the women that I work with in my one-on-one coaching and in group programs, women are so, women in a Western society are really, really, really good at being embodied in their masculine energy. So the idea of warrior is very much about, I can handle anything. Get out of my way. I got this. I set a goal and I achieve it. I am in control. And Feminine Warrior, the concept of this title and the book itself is about shifting that perspective where, yes, you can be a warrior. Yes, you can have like limitless potential and strength. Yes, you can handle anything that comes your way, but you don't have to do it with so much force. But you can trust in yourself and your own femininity, that you can surrender into who you truly are and know that you are still a warrior. It's really about this amalgamating of the masculine and feminine, which when I talk about empowerment is really what I'm talking about. The word empowerment is a bit more, I'd say maybe accessible to the average palate of individuals that I come across. So the title idea came from this amalgamation of masculine and feminine with more strength to really pull in the women who are embodied in their masculine and the softness of the intuition and wisdom for those who are embodied in their feminine. So it's really fully all encompassing. That's where it came from. And it was really organic and flowed in naturally. And I'm quite certain I had the title all the way like a year ago. The title was there, the outline of the book was there, and what I wanted to deliver, it was all there. It all came to me intuitively. I think about a year ago. My dates are all kind of confused because this year with the global pandemic, I can't even believe that it's now into November. I don't know. Yeah, so that's where it came from. Good question, Taylor. Okay. Ooh. Melissa asks, what is your greatest fear or reservation about writing and releasing this book? I got a story for you. So, I think I might have said this on a previous podcast episode. So you might have heard me say this before. I've wanted to be an author for years, like a decade. And I've always dreamt, and I think I said this on podcast too, but I'm going to say it again so you can hold me to it. I've had this vision of writing a book in Paris and being picked up by a publishing house that wants to pay me a beautiful big advance for me to write my next book. And then they send me to Paris where I write at different cafes. I write on my beautiful balcony of the Airbnb I'm staying at. I walk down the Champs-Élysées and I just absorb all the French culture and the relationships and the connection and the snootiness. I love French culture. I lived there for 4 months years ago. I don't speak French, so it was very challenging. But there's something about French culture that just, it pulls me in. So, anyways, side note, that's a vision that I have for the future. So at one point, if you see me on Instagram or if I'm recording a podcast episode from Paris, please know that you can give me a big celebration because I did it, manifested that shit. Okay, question. Fears or reservation about writing and releasing this book. So I've always wanted to be an author. Because of that, I've followed a lot of authors. I've read a ton of books within this realm of spirituality, personal development, self-help, because that's what I knew I wanted to write. Years ago, I used to write, like, this is so funny. I had a secret blog that I literally shared with nobody. I don't think I ever shared it. And I would write short stories on my blog. And these stories were really about relationship because I was in a place in my life when I was single and I was dating a lot of different men. And you'll read about that at that time in my life in the book, actually, in Feminine Warrior. But at this time, it was so much fun to be writing these short stories. And they were partially pulled from my own experiences, but then, of course, exaggerated because that makes a good story. And I went to find these blog posts, I think like a year ago or so when I started writing Feminine Warrior, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And I don't even remember what the website was called, but I think it must have gotten taken down. But I have always loved writing. And if you follow me on social media, the posts that I write that really touch into your heart, that comes straight from my heart. I love writing from my heart. So I followed a lot of authors over the years. And one of the things that I've noticed is they talk about how hard it is to write a book. They talk about how grueling it is to like get everything in by that deadline, make it happen, get that word count up. And my experience has been very blissful. I was a little bit behind schedule, I'd say, but I didn't feel deep pressure. I mean, my publisher is amazing. YGT Mamako is incredible. So that's definitely a benefit. Mm, but generally, the whole process has been really blissful. Until the presale. Until the presale happened, which was at the end of September. I sold 322 books, I think, within a week. It was incredible. It was amazing. And it was overwhelming. And at that same time, I was also going through final edits, which we had intended to have final edits done before the presale, but life happens, things happen. So not only was I responding to about like 50 messages a day and a variety of emails and double checking the spreadsheet and making sure I have everyone's address correct and like doing all of these things, I was also literally reading word for word through my book 2 separate times to ensure that everything was correct. And much to, I'm sure, the disappointment of some sort of my publisher and editor, I changed a lot last minute. I changed a lot. I changed the structure of some of the sections. I changed the content. I like cut whole pieces out, added pieces in. They never told me that I shouldn't have done that. I mean, it's my book, but I know that it caused a little bit more challenge. However, when you're bringing a book into the world, you want it to be powerful as possible. At least I do. I assume that's other authors' desire as well. And to me, that's all that matters. To me, all that matters is you, to be honest, is what you receive from the book. And Melissa, to answer your question, one of the greatest fears, and this is something that I've been working through, to be honest, my whole career as a speaker, a retreat host, an energy healer, a coach, is releasing my attachment to you liking me. My whole life have wanted to be liked. I was bullied as a kid, and all I wanted was for someone to like me. I just wanted to be in the in crowd. And that's been a really powerful journey for me over now, I think like 6-8 years, something like that, of really dedicating to letting go. Just fully letting go. Because when you put a book into the world, and my beautiful aunt shared this with me, when you put a book into the world, it is no longer your book. You cannot claim that book anymore. Those words, everything that is written down, even if it's your story, is up for interpretation. Every single person that reads that book is going to have their own experience of it, because we all experience life through our own perception. And as an author or a speaker or an energy healer or a coach, if you try to hold claim to what it is that you share with the world, you're going to drown. You will not survive, because you cannot make people like you. You cannot please everybody. It's not possible. And I know you guys know this, but it comes to a new level of understanding when you write a book, because it's one thing to share your sacred inner workings on an Instagram post, but you can delete that. On a Facebook Live, you can delete that. On a podcast episode, you can delete that. On a book, in a book, as a book, you can't really delete that. You can't, I mean, I suppose I could take it off, like take off the ISBN number at some point and make it so people can't order the book anymore. However, there's already going to be 322 human beings that have this book in their hands within the next couple of weeks. And that's a journey, Melissa. That is a journey for me to let go of my attachment to what is in that book, to let go of it being my own story, because it's not. Yes, some of it is my story, but as I shared before, it's my channeling of what I can feel in the whole conscious collective, what I can feel for women. And that's been big. And another thing that's been happening, that's happened since the pre-sale, is I keep calling it, I was messaging with my dear friend Sonia, who you've heard and seen on this podcast before. I was messaging her and I said, girl, I am going through something. I am experiencing massive, massive energetic shifts. And they're at times scary for me because it's so intense. The intensity of what I'm feeling is crazy. And all this entire year, every time I've tried to draw my attention away from feminine warrior and go into something else, create something else, do something else, my intuition guides me right back to this book, right back to this book, right back to this book. There's something in the launch of feminine warrior. There's something in this book coming into the world that is necessary for my own evolution. What that is, I don't fully know yet, but I do the work to surrender to letting that be. But I'm calling this the reconstruction of self. It feels right now that my entire energetic frequency is reconstructing. It's like breaking down and building back up to align with a higher vibration and align with, it's like I need to be a certain type of, not a certain type of person, that's the wrong words, but I need to be at a certain energetic frequency and level to genuinely, authentically hold the space of the magnitude that feminine warrior, the potential of the magnitude that feminine warrior holds within it. Every woman that reads this book is going to change the way she thinks about herself. She's going to change the way she speaks to herself. Now, I can't determine for how long that will change. My hope is it will be infinite, that you will continue to grow and expand and change the way you speak to yourself. But I know that any woman that reads this book will be changed. And that's kind of big. it's a bit big. It's a bit big. And it's different because, the work that I do with a one-on-one client, when she comes to me, I know her life is about to change. I know that. It's not even a question. But it's different because it's intimate. She's coming to me individually. She's investing money, time, energy into herself. We have this relationship, this rapport, this connection, this energetic container that we're existing within together. But for you, for each of you who are going to read this book who are not working with me, you're doing your thing. You're on your own. You're going to have this shift on your own. And that's kind of scary for me because I want you to be supported. I want you to know you are supported. You already are, but I want you to know and feel that you are supported. So actually right now, for anybody that reads this book and is like, whoa, my life is changing, my life is transforming, I am shifting, and I'm scared, or I'm uncomfortable, or I need support, or I just need community, please reach out to me. Please, please, please do not think that you have to do this alone, because you don't. For myself, in this restructuring of self that's occurring right now, you guys, I have 4 incredible women that work within Deanna Deacon coaching to help make everything run. I have my own coach that I turn to for my personal support. I have another coach that I turn to for business support. I have an incredible husband that over our 10 years together has really learned how to be patient with me when I'm going through a shift. I have incredible girlfriends that I can reach out to for a variety of different things. I have my sister and her babies that I turn to really anchor and ground me down to the earth. I have my dad that I reach out to. I have my mom who's passed that I connect to energetically. I have my auntie. I have so much support. So I don't want you to think that all of this growth that I'm experiencing in me is ever done alone. It's not. Yes, it's up to me to do my work, just like it's up to you to do your work, but you don't have to feel alone. It doesn't have to be lonely for you to expand and evolve. Okay. So keep that in mind. Remember my words right now. You do not have to be alone. You are deeply supported and you're allowed to feel so. So reach out when you need to. Even if you don't know if you need to, reach out anyway. So to kind of sum up, Melissa, from your question, my greatest fear, reservation, is I was thinking about the quote from Marianne Williamson that I'm going to say this wrong. I think it's even in the book, but it's right in the book, I promise. Our greatest fear is not our darkness. Our greatest fear is our light. It's how powerful we truly are. And I can feel that in this reconstruction of self right now. I can feel my own resistance to the potential that lives within me as a healer, as a leader, as a woman who wants to use this voice that I've been given, this body that I've been given, this wisdom that I've been given to heal the world. This book is not about, it's not just a book. It is a stepping stone to the evolution of all of us existing within more bliss and love. That is what it's about. And last night, I was dancing around on my yoga mat. I thought I'd do a full yoga flow. Instead, I cranked the Feminine Warrior playlist on Spotify and just got into it. It was incredible. And I danced and sang so hard to these woman empowerment songs that have been like moved me through my entire journey this past year. And I fell to the mat bawling my eyes out, like sobbing. And I wasn't sad. I was sobbing for the magnitude of the vision that I see within my life. My purpose here is to transmute all energy into love. It is to be a healer. It is to serve all that cross my path with loving energy. That is why I'm here. When I'm stuck in my humanness, in my physical layer, my emotional layer, when I'm stuck in these aspects of myself, it's so hard to feel how important that purpose is, because I'm thinking, yeah, but like I want to buy a new house, and I think I should get some new clothes because I'm bored of my closet. And I start like getting really caught up in this, the physical manifestation. And for those of you who have been through my course, the Intuition series, you know that the physical layer of self is the furthest from our true soul, is the furthest from the truth of who we are. And so the work really is about continuously coming back into the magnitude and the power of who each of us are at our soul level. So my greatest fear of reservation is that I have to, I feel right now like I don't have a choice, that I am continuously being pulled forward and forward into so much more depth of who I am. as a person, as a healer, as an energy, as a soul, as a woman, as an author, as a coach, as a friend, as a wife. I am being pulled so much more deeply into my truth than I ever have before, with such um, loving force. And it's amazing. It's incredible to witness, and it's also terrifying because when we awaken, when we shift, when we grow, when we expand, you don't go backwards. You might take a few steps backwards just to test out an old pattern, but you don't go back. So that, and of course, the desire that you will enjoy the book. um, yeah, that's those are the things. Hmm. So Miss Emma asks, well, she says, I would love to hear about some of the practical aspects, the discipline and editing, how long it took. The discipline, she says. Emma, come on, you know me. I seem to get a lot done in my life. I'm really proud of how much I accomplish in my business and in my life, when, to be perfectly honest, like, I'm pretty fluid. I follow my intuition. I do what feels right. I cancel launches. I cancel programs. I shift things so that they feel good instead of being deeply, like, really disciplined. So when it came to my writing, I did the same. If I wasn't in the energy of it, I didn't write, because I knew that whatever I wrote would not be what you needed to hear. That being said, that's probably why I was a little bit behind with my schedule. But when it comes to discipline, where I didn't waver was my discipline with my own connection to self. So that's my morning meditation. That's my morning Kundalini practices and my organic movement through my body, and coming into silence, journaling, exploring my thoughts, my feelings, what's occurring on the 5 layers of who I am. That was a non-negotiable, and it will continue to be for the rest of my life. I know that. And so that's where the discipline came in, to allow me to be in that flow state, that the zone of genius in which I operate. Then from there, I make sure, even if I'm not writing a book, that my schedule has a lot of space. This started because, as an empath and a highly sensitive person, and working with clients really, really intimately, there were times that I would pick up on their energy and I wouldn't be able to function afterwards. I would need to do my own energy releasing and healing to be able to function for the rest of the day. And so I started creating a schedule that had a lot of space in it. And that really supported me for writing, because all that space that I had, anytime I felt inspired to write, I would write. And I remember this phase, it must have been, oh, I don't know, I think it was maybe spring 2020. I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I'd go to bed at like 9:30 or something, and I would wake up at, or not really wake up, I'd toss and turn until like 10:30, 11. Then finally I'd be like, okay, I feel it. Let's get up. I'd get up, I'd put my glasses on, I'd grab my laptop, I'd cuddle up on the couch and write for hours, hours. It would just pour out of me. And that felt really great, because I knew I wasn't sleeping anyways. I felt inspired to write. I let myself go with it. That's when I got like the bulk chunks of it in. And that's all the really, you'll see the pieces that feel like they're fully channeled. That's what was happening. The editing process was wonderful, and challenging at the same time. It was faster and more intensive than I'm used to living my life. As I mentioned, am a pretty fluid person. I like to have lots of space in my days. I like a lot of sleep. I like a long, luxurious morning routine. And my editors and my publisher are all back in Ontario. So our time change was kind of a thing. So for them, the end of the day for them would be the middle of the day for me. So for me to get something done end of day, they were hoping for it before it was actually done. And as I mentioned previously, I was doing the pre-sale at the same time as doing the final edits, and decided intuitively to restructure a whole bunch of the book. So it was actually pretty intense. It was a bit too intense for me. I got sick afterwards, which I understand why my body had to break down and give myself that rest. The editing process, Could be a lot faster, I think. Like I have two editors. So I had one editor that worked with me on kind of expanding some of the concepts and making sure that everything flowed really well. And then I had another editor who went through it and did all the grammatical aspects. Like, when you say this? What is this? What does that mean? Can you expand on this? So having both was really, really great. I had considered self-publishing, in which case I wouldn't have had those editors. And I'm glad that I chose to go with the publisher that I did, because I feel so much more confident that this book is going to be easier to digest for you as the reader, which I'm really proud of. So that was a good decision on my part, I think. Plus it gave me a deadline and I need deadlines to get things done sometimes. So I started with my first editor, I think in like May or June, and we took a lot of time. We could have done it much faster and we didn't. Both of us had a lot going on and we were just not really connecting all the time. So that was a really slow process, which probably could have taken a month, but we let it take like 4 months. So in the future, I think I would keep that a little bit more condensed. And then coming into the final edits with the grammatical editing, or technical, it's called technical editing, and then going through the final edits and then going through the design aspects, making sure everything looks right when it's in actual book form. That was all super intensive. And that probably took a month and a half in total, I think. Um, yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I'm already excited to write my second book. I'm holding off on getting my energy into it. I have already an idea of what it might be, but I'm holding off because I really want to be present with Feminine Warrior and this launch. Um, but I'm definitely going to do it again. This is incredible. I love writing. I love launching a book. It's so much fun. You guys are an incredible community, and that makes such a difference. So yeah, that's kind of how long it took. Um, and Emma also says, did you know how it was going to be set out, or was the content organic? Yeah, so that's a really great question. I knew the title Feminine Warrior pretty much before I had started writing very much of it. I knew that was the concept and the energy that I was infusing into this book. I knew I wanted it to be a book for an individual who is in an awakening crossroads. So perhaps brand new to energy healing, perhaps brand new to meditation, self-care, inner dialogue, um, spirituality, holistic health, maybe brand new to all of that, or maybe have been dabbling for a few years but are looking for a little bit more of like a concrete understanding and comprehension of it. So it's kind of like this doesn't sound right, but I want to say it was designed to be like an entry level book in a sense, and kind of entry level in the way that it inspires and instigates a woman to go deeper into herself. What I found was really interesting is all of my reviewers, I would say, are absolutely not this sort of entry level aspect of self. They have been doing inner work for years. They are very spiritual, tapped in. They are very connected to themselves, their intuition, their truth. And honestly, every single one of them loved Feminine Warrior. The reviews blew my mind and gave me so much confidence in having people actually read it and share their reflections. There were a couple women who shared the reviews and or even shared with me personally how valuable the timing was for them to read this book. And it blew my mind because I thought, they already know these things. This isn't new information for them. And that's the power of being present. That's the power of the work that I did to be present when I was writing. It's not about what you know. It's about who you be. It's about who you're existing as. It's about the choices you're making in every moment. And when it comes to awakening and embodiment and evolution and expansion, the job doesn't end. This is a lifelong journey. And so a book like this, no matter what level you're at, is going to stir up something in you. And so coming back to that question, was this content organic or did I know? I knew that I wanted this book to be accessible to all. So I want to speak in a way that people, like someone who is new to me or new to this type of work, could still understand. I want to share personal stories because for whatever reason, I don't have fear about sharing the stories of my life. Well, not much fear. And I wanted to use that as a platform for women to see each other in my stories and in some of the stories of my clients. And I knew that I wanted to add in a resource section at the back. So the fifth section of the book is all tangible how-tos. And that is so important to me because I've read a lot of self-help books, and every single one I think has changed my life. I think, oh my God, I figured it out. This is the one. My life has changed. All is healed. I'm perfect. And then I stop reading it. And then like a week later, it's kind of gone. I just sort of forget about it and I don't do the things. So I wanted to create a resource section so that you could take that inspiration you're going to receive from reading the book and implement it into your everyday life. So the resources are things like how to journal, different types of meditation, different types of breath techniques, and how to move breath through your body, move prana through your body, EFT tapping, gratitude journaling, future casting journaling, um, more things like that. They're incredible. They're outlined in the 4 pillars of self-mastery, which are physical well-being, emotional resiliency, mental clarity, and spiritual awakenings. So I think you're really going to love those. So Emma, the content, the framework came intuitively. The whole process was intuitive, but the framework was set out before I started writing. And then I let myself let go of the framework and just write. And then I mapped out the other sections. So it started in 3 sections and then we expanded it into 5 sections. So the framework was there and then it all became so intuitive and organic as I went through and I allowed it to shift and change. Okay. Let's do one more question. There's quite a few more here, but I'm only going to do one more to keep your ears engaged. By the way, I'm sipping on a very delicious latte. It's not coffee. It is almond milk, hot water, some maca powder, a really delicious maca blend that I bought, some cacao powder, a little bit of matcha just for a little zing, some vegan butter, and then I blended it all. Blend it in my magic bullet, and then delicious. It's so good. Okay. Final question. Let's see. Oh, this is fun. Taylor asks, where was your favorite place to write the book? I wrote this book everywhere. I wrote this book in my motorhome. When I took the table down, I made it into a daybed and I would wake up before Luke and I would cuddle up there with a cup of tea, Dixie curled up in my lap, laptop on top of Dixie, right, wherever we were, by the lake, in the forest, wherever we happened to be. I wrote this book outside. There's a junior high school in the town that I live in that is not used. It's empty. And I think must have been like March or April. The snow was melting, the sun was out, and I found this really beautiful spot where it had some grass. The sun was beating down on me. I was away from the wind, and I sat there with Dixie, wrote the book. Pretty sure Dixie was beside me when I wrote every single word of this book. I didn't actually write my book in bed ever, I think. That's surprising. I wrote a lot in this office that I'm in right now. If you're watching the video, you can see where I am. My favorite place to write, I think my favorite place would be in the motorhome. That felt so free. It felt so fun to be on the road, to have no Wi-Fi access, and to just be working on a creative project that felt so real and true for me. It felt like I really felt a sense of purpose when I was writing in the motorhome. And I love blending holiday and vacation time with living my purpose and allowing my work to be a part of my everyday life. So that felt really special. Yeah, I think that was my favorite spot. So those are my A's to your Q's. I would love to know what other Q's you have. I would love to know what burning questions are arising for you. Go ahead and share them with me in the Empowered Woman Collective on Facebook. There's a post in there. You can search for that or just make a post and tag me in it. And I would love to do another Q&A like this. And if you're curious about Feminine Warrior and you're wondering whether or not you should grab a copy or if you should get a copy for a friend for Christmas, come in the Empowered Woman Collective this Friday, November 6th, and hang out with me because I have a couple guests that are going to come and share their experience of reading Feminine Warrior. So these are some of the reviewers that have read the book. They're going to talk about their experience of reading it. So you're not going to hear just from me, you're going to hear from other women who have read through this book and what it was like for them and who they would recommend it for. Okay, so go ahead and come join the Feminine Warrior Book Launch Festival going on Friday, November 6th from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. in the Empowered Woman Collective. The full schedule will be listed there soon. And make sure you pre-register for 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock on a Zoom line for the Feminine Warrior Book Launch Party so that you can see that special creative project I'm sharing with you, as well as I have a special announcement that I'm really excited to share with you too. Plus, you get to see our beautiful sacred guests coming and joining, sharing their beautiful soul gifts from their heart and giving you full body goosebumps for the whole 2 hours as you truly feel into the energy of rising. What it looks like, feels like, tastes like to rise as women in our power, away from fear, away from doubt, into the truth of who we are, the innate essence and magnificence of the power of being a feminine warrior. I love you. I'll see you soon.